MS-13. It's a name that echoes fear and power across borders. But what makes this gang so infamous, and why has it captured the attention of people worldwide, including current President Trump?
The bloodthirsty cartel known as MS-13.
MS-13 is no ordinary gang. Its violent reputation and global reach have made it one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. Stick around as we dive into the origins, growth, and chilling influence of MS-13. Today we're exposing the dark, violent story of MS-13, also known as Mara Salvatrucha. From its humble beginnings on the streets of Los Angeles, it's transformed into a transnational force that commands fear across 2 continents. But how did this gang grow from a neighborhood group into a powerful and violent organization? And why was it a key focus of the Trump administration's anti-crime efforts? This is MS-13. Let's get into it. The core issue here is that MS-13 operates more like a decentralized crime syndicate than a typical gang. Each part of MS-13, known as a clique, functions independently, which means taking down one part doesn't necessarily affect the others. This decentralized structure has made it nearly impossible for authorities to dismantle the gang entirely. And it's not just about the structure. The gang's recruitment strategy involves luring youth from disadvantaged backgrounds, kids as young as 8, with promises of protection and family. By the time they're adults, loyalty to MS-13 is deeply ingrained. Their reputation for violence keeps communities under their control, ensuring they maintain dominance in ways few other groups can achieve. To understand how MS-13 came to be, we need to go back to the 1980s. During this time, thousands of Salvadorans fled their homes to escape a brutal civil war. They arrived in the US, especially in cities like Los Angeles, where they faced discrimination and struggled to assimilate. For many, forming groups became a way to survive, and MS-13 was one of those groups. What began as a form of protection soon grew violent as they clashed with other gangs in LA neighborhoods. By the 1990s, the US government's mass deportation of criminals back to Central America unintentionally allowed MS-13 to expand its influence. Thousands of gang members were sent back to countries like El Salvador, where poverty and corruption created the perfect conditions for MS-13 to thrive. As a result, the gang quickly spread its operations across El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. Now, MS-13 wasn't just a Los Angeles problem, it was a Central American crisis. Today, estimates suggest there are around 10,000 MS-13 members within the US and far more across Central America. Their commitment to the gang is so extreme that members often brand themselves with distinct tattoos, sometimes covering their entire faces. It's a permanent mark of their loyalty to MS-13, and for them, there's no turning back. Their sources of income. MS-13's income sources are straightforward but highly effective. Unlike drug cartels with complex distribution networks, MS-13 focuses on smaller but equally violent activities. One of their main revenue streams is extortion. In countries like El Salvador, many local businesses and even regular citizens are forced to pay MS-13 a tax just to operate safely. Those who refuse face violent consequences, which keeps entire communities under the gang's control. Drug trafficking and smuggling are also part of their operations, particularly within the US. They often serve as muscle for larger drug organizations rather than running large-scale trafficking networks. Robbery and even human trafficking add to their income, with violence used as a tool to ensure compliance and control. Organizational structure. MS-13's decentralized structure allows it to adapt and grow without being heavily affected by law enforcement crackdowns. Unlike traditional criminal organizations with strict hierarchies, MS-13 operates in smaller groups called cliques, each running independently and managing its own recruitment, finances, and operations. Regional leaders called palabreros oversee these groups, ensuring they follow the gang's code and rules. This setup makes MS-13 highly resilient, as taking down one clique or even a regional leader does little to disrupt the gang's overall operations. They can adapt to changes in law enforcement practices and modify operations to fit each neighborhood. This adaptability is a significant reason why MS-13 has thrived for decades, despite numerous attempts to shut them down. High-profile crimes. MS-13's reputation for violence goes beyond what most gangs are known for. Here are a couple of their most infamous crimes that underline their brutality. The case of Brenda Paz, 2003. Brenda Paz was a 17-year-old member who turned informant for the police, providing invaluable information on MS-13's operations. But after leaving witness protection, she was found and brutally murdered by MS-13. Her death wasn't just punishment, it was a statement. MS-13 wanted everyone to know that leaving the gang or betraying them isn't an option. Honduras Bus Massacre, 2004. One of the most shocking crimes connected to MS-13 took place in Honduras in December 2004. MS-13 members attacked a bus full of civilians, killing 28 people. They left behind a note condemning the government's plan to reinstate the death penalty. This wasn't just a random act of violence, it was a calculated attack meant to show that MS-13 doesn't fear any authority. Over recent years, the US has ramped up efforts to dismantle MS-13, with the Trump administration making it a priority target. The Department of Justice launched crackdowns, leading to hundreds of arrests, as well as the seizure of drugs, weapons, and cash. The US government even went as far as labeling MS-13 a top transnational criminal organization, focusing efforts on targeting its leaders and key operatives. However, each time authorities celebrate a success, MS-13 adapts. New members fill the void left by those arrested, and their decentralized structure allows them to continue operations with minimal interruption. Law enforcement often describes it as a cat and mouse game, where they put out one fire only to see another spark somewhere else. Key US locations for MS-13's influence. MS-13's influence extends across the United States, with some regions facing a more significant impact due to their strategic value or population demographics. Here's a closer look. 1. New York. MS-13 operates heavily within New York City and Long Island, particularly affecting Nassau and Suffolk counties. The gang's activity has led to increased violent incidents, making it challenging for law enforcement to control their influence and recruitment within immigrant communities. 2. California. As MS-13's birthplace, Los Angeles is one of the gang's primary strongholds. The gang continues to exert a strong presence throughout California, where they recruit new members and engage in violent crime in multiple cities, posing a substantial public safety threat. 3. Maryland, Baltimore, along with Montgomery and Prince George's counties, has seen a rise in MS-13's activities. The gang is known for targeting high schools and other vulnerable spots in these areas, keeping local police forces on high alert. 4. Virginia. Northern Virginia, especially Fairfax County and Arlington, experiences frequent MS-13 activity. The gang is notorious for its recruitment tactics in high schools and has been involved in a series of violent crimes that continue to affect the area's youth. 5. Texas. Due to its proximity to the border, Texas has become a crucial location for MS-13's operations. Cities like Houston and Dallas are hotspots for gang activities, with MS-13 exploiting immigration routes and engaging in drug trafficking and recruitment. 6. Massachusetts. In the Boston area, MS-13 has established itself within certain immigrant communities. Recruitment efforts are widespread here, and the local authorities face significant challenges in curbing the gang's growing influence and reducing related crime. MS-13 has evolved into a transnational criminal force that extends far beyond typical gang activity. Its strategy relies on violence and fear, and its decentralized, adaptable structure has made it one of the most challenging criminal organizations to combat. Law enforcement continues the fight, but the gang's relentless recruitment and violent tactics ensure that this battle is far from over. For more insights into the world's most dangerous organizations, subscribe and turn on notifications, or watch our next video for more stories.